What if I told you that everything you believe about English fluency is completely wrong? Right now, millions of English learners are sabotaging their own progress because they've fallen for 5 devastating myths that keep them trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and frustration. These myths are so deeply embedded in our minds that even native speakers struggle with them. But here's the shocking truth. The most confident English speakers you admire weren't born that way. They simply discovered what you're about to learn in the next few minutes. I used to believe these myths myself, and they nearly destroyed my confidence in both my native English and my second language. I thought I was broken, that I'd never sound natural or fluent. Then I discovered something that changed everything. The confident speakers you hear on podcasts, in meetings, giving presentations, they all know these secrets, and today, I'm going to share them with you. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your current approach isn't working, and what you need to do instead. Let me start with something that might surprise you. As an English teacher with over 25 years of experience, I still struggle with speaking confidence. Yes, you heard that right. Being a native speaker doesn't automatically make you a confident communicator. I've had moments where I've stumbled over words, forgotten what I wanted to say, and felt completely tongue-tied. The difference is, I've learned to recognize when these myths are holding me back, and I've developed strategies to overcome them. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever watched someone speak English and thought they were so naturally gifted? Maybe you've told yourself that you're just too shy, too slow, or simply not cut out for confident communication. Perhaps you've convinced yourself that if you could just speak faster, you'd sound more fluent. Or maybe you believe that asking for clarification makes you look weak or unprepared. These thoughts feel so real, so convincing, that we accept them as truth. But what if they're all lies? The first myth that's probably sabotaging your progress right now is the belief that some people are naturally confident speakers. This myth is incredibly dangerous because it makes you think confidence is something you're either born with or you're not. You look at extroverted people who seem to effortlessly command attention in conversations, and you assume they've always been that way. You compare yourself to them and conclude that you'll never reach their level because you're naturally introverted or shy. But here's what's really happening. Those seemingly natural speakers have simply learned to use their personality traits to their advantage. Extroverts think out loud, which gives them more practice speaking, but that doesn't mean they're better communicators. In fact, many introverts become exceptional speakers because they have a natural tendency to think before they speak. This is actually a superpower in disguise. When you take time to organize your thoughts, you speak with more clarity and purpose. The key is learning to embrace your natural thinking style instead of fighting against it. If you need time to process information before speaking, that's not a weakness, it's a strength. You can prepare for conversations by thinking through potential topics in advance. You can practice speaking your thoughts out loud when you're alone. You can use brief pauses during conversations to collect your thoughts. These aren't signs of poor English skills, they're signs of thoughtful communication. Most importantly, you can develop confidence through consistent practice, regardless of whether you're naturally introverted or extroverted. Confidence isn't a personality trait you're born with, it's a skill you develop over time. Every confident speaker you admire started exactly where you are now, feeling uncertain and worried about making mistakes. The only difference is they kept practicing despite those feelings. The second myth destroying your progress is the belief that fluent English equals fast English. This misconception is everywhere. You watch English movies or listen to podcasts where people speak rapidly, and you think that's what fluency sounds like. You try to speed up your speech, thinking it will make you sound more natural. But instead, you end up stumbling over words, making more mistakes, and losing control of your communication. Let me demonstrate something for you. When I speak extremely quickly without pauses, my communication becomes unclear and chaotic. I might cover more words per minute, but I'm not actually communicating effectively. My thoughts become jumbled. I make pronunciation errors, and even native speakers struggle to follow what I'm saying. Speed without clarity is just noise. Real fluency is about smooth, natural, clear communication, where you maintain complete control over your message. It's about being understood, not about impressing people with how fast you can talk. When you focus on clarity over speed, something magical happens. Your pronunciation improves because you're giving yourself time to articulate each sound properly. Your grammar becomes more accurate because you're not rushing through sentence structures. Your vocabulary expands because you have time to choose the most precise words for your message. The most skilled communicators understand the power of strategic pauses. They use brief moments of silence to breathe, to organize their next thought, and to emphasize important points. These pauses don't make them sound slow or uncertain. They make them sound thoughtful and in control. When you embrace pauses in your speech, you're following the example of the world's most effective public speakers and presenters. Practice speaking with intentional pauses between your sentences and thoughts. Use these moments to breathe and plan your next words. Don't try to plan entire conversations in advance. Just focus on organizing one thought at a time. This approach reduces anxiety because you're not overwhelming yourself with pressure to have everything figured out simultaneously. The third myth that's holding you back is the idea that confident speakers never need clarification. You might worry that asking someone to repeat themselves or explain their meaning makes you look incompetent or reveals your limitations as an English learner. This fear causes many students to nod along pretending they understand when they're actually completely lost. But here's the reality that might shock you. Confident speakers ask for clarification constantly. They do this because they're genuinely engaged in the conversation and committed to true understanding. Asking for clarification isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of active listening and professional communication. Native speakers ask for clarification all the time, especially in important business meetings or complex discussions. When you ask for clarification, you're showing respect for the speaker and demonstrating that their message matters to you. You're also preventing misunderstandings that could lead to bigger problems later. Think about it this way. Would you rather ask a quick question now or discover later that you completely misunderstood something important? Learn to use clarification phrases naturally and confidently. Practice saying things like, "I want to make sure I understand correctly," or "Could you help me understand what you mean by that?" These phrases sound professional and engaged, not confused or incompetent. The more you practice using them in comfortable situations, the more natural they'll feel when you really need them. Remember that seeking clarification is actually a sophisticated communication skill. It shows emotional intelligence and cultural awareness. In English-speaking cultures, asking thoughtful questions is highly valued and seen as a sign of engagement and intelligence, not confusion or inadequacy. The fourth myth poisoning your confidence is the belief that confident speakers never experience setbacks or make mistakes. This myth creates an impossible standard that keeps you paralyzed with fear. You think that one mistake, one moment of forgetting a word, or one grammatical error proves that you're not cut out for confident English communication. Let me share something that might surprise you. I make mistakes constantly, even in my native English. Just recently, while speaking to a group of students, I completely forgot the word journal while explaining how to keep a progress journal. My mind went completely blank on such a simple, common word. For a moment, I felt embarrassed and panicked. But then I used the recovery skills I've developed over years of practice. Here's what I did and what you can learn to do too. First, I took a deep breath to calm my nervous system and regain control. Panic makes everything worse, so the priority is always to return to a calm state. Then, I found an alternative way to describe what I meant while my brain worked in the background to retrieve the word I was looking for. This gave me time to recover while continuing the conversation naturally. The most important realization is that mistakes don't define your speaking ability. Your recovery from mistakes does. Confident speakers aren't people who never make errors. They're people who know how to handle errors gracefully when they occur. They've practiced recovery techniques until they become automatic responses. You can develop these same recovery skills through deliberate practice. Find safe environments where you can practice speaking and making mistakes without judgment. This might be with a trusted friend, in a language exchange, or even by recording yourself speaking alone. The goal is to become comfortable with the reality that mistakes happen to everyone, and to develop your ability to recover quickly and naturally. When mistakes happen in real conversations, you have several options. You can briefly pause, correct yourself, and continue. You can acknowledge the mistake with a simple, "Sorry, what I meant was," and then provide the correct information. In casual situations, you might even make light of the situation with gentle humor. The key is to stay calm and not let one small error derail your entire communication. The fifth and final myth that's sabotaging your English journey is the all-or-nothing belief that you either have confidence or you don't. This binary thinking creates a false choice that keeps you stuck. You look at confident speakers and assume they've always possessed this ability, that it's some sort of innate talent you either have or lack forever. This perspective is not only wrong, it's incredibly limiting. Confidence in English, like any other skill, is developed through consistent practice and gradual exposure to increasingly challenging situations. Every confident speaker you admire was once exactly where you are now, feeling uncertain and worried about their abilities. The only difference is they understood that confidence is built, not born. Think of confidence like physical fitness. You don't expect to run a marathon without training, and you don't expect to lift heavy weights without gradually building strength. English confidence works the same way. You start with small, manageable challenges and gradually expand your comfort zone. Each positive experience builds upon the previous one, creating momentum and genuine self-assurance. The confidence-building cycle works like this. You learn new skills or information, then you take action to apply what you've learned. This action provides you with real experience and feedback, which shifts your beliefs about what's possible for you. These updated beliefs increase your confidence, which motivates you to continue learning and taking action. Notice that confidence doesn't come before action, it comes from action. This means the fastest way to build English confidence is to start speaking, even when you don't feel ready. You don't need to wait until you feel confident to begin practicing. You begin practicing to develop confidence. This mindset shift changes everything because it removes the pressure to feel perfect before you start and instead focuses on progress through practice. Here are specific actions you can take starting this week to build your English confidence. Join an English-speaking community where you can practice regularly with supportive people who understand your journey. This could be an online conversation group, a local meet, or even a book club conducted in English. The key is finding people who encourage your growth rather than judge your mistakes. Find opportunities to use English in low-pressure situations. Volunteer for organizations where you can practice speaking while helping others. This gives you meaningful conversation practice while reducing the focus on your language skills. When you're helping someone else, you naturally become less self-conscious about your own speaking abilities. Create a daily speaking practice routine, even if it's just talking to yourself out loud for 10 minutes. Practice summarizing articles you've read, describing your daily activities, or explaining topics you're passionate about. This solo practice builds muscle memory for English sounds and sentence structures without any external pressure. Listen actively to skilled English communicators and notice how they use pauses, emphasis, and pacing to enhance their message. You're not trying to copy their style exactly, but you're learning from their techniques. Pay attention to how they handle mistakes, how they clarify their points, and how they maintain engagement with their audience. Record yourself speaking and listen back without judgment. This isn't about criticizing your accent or finding flaws. It's about becoming aware of your natural speaking patterns and identifying areas where small improvements could make a big difference. Focus on one element at a time, whether it's pronunciation, pacing, or clarity. Practice asking for clarification in comfortable situations so it becomes natural when you really need it. Use phrases like, "Could you help me understand that better?" Or, "I want to make sure I'm following you correctly." The more you practice these phrases, the more automatic they become in real conversations. Set specific, achievable speaking goals for yourself each week. Maybe you'll introduce yourself to one new person, ask one question in a meeting, or share one opinion in a group discussion. These small wins accumulate over time and build genuine confidence based on real experience and success. Most importantly, celebrate your progress along the way. Keep track of situations where you successfully communicated your ideas, moments when you recovered gracefully from mistakes, and times when you felt proud of your English abilities. This positive reinforcement strengthens your confidence and motivates continued practice. Remember that becoming a confident English speaker is a journey, not a destination. Even after years of practice, there will always be new situations that challenge you, new vocabulary to learn, and new communication skills to develop. The goal isn't perfection. It's continuous improvement and the confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever English communication challenges come your way. The truth is that you already have everything you need to become a confident English speaker. You have curiosity, determination, and the ability to learn and grow. What you might have been missing are the right strategies and the understanding that confidence comes from action, not from waiting until you feel ready. Today, you've learned to recognize the myths that have been holding you back and discovered practical steps you can take to move forward. Your English journey doesn't have to be a struggle filled with self-doubt and frustration. When you understand that confident speakers are made, not born, when you prioritize clarity over speed, when you embrace asking for clarification, when you accept that mistakes are part of learning, and when you commit to taking action despite not feeling ready, everything changes. You stop being your own worst enemy and become your greatest supporter. The question now isn't whether you can become a confident English speaker, because you absolutely can. The question is, what action will you take this week to start building that confidence? Will you find a speaking partner, join a conversation group, or simply start practicing out loud by yourself? Whatever you choose, remember that every confident speaker started with that first brave step, and today can be the day you take yours.